There were no true tryouts, no multi-year commitments.
Right.
Why was it so different this year?
Well, we felt we learned from 2019, when we finished 7th. We had tryouts that year.
Yeah.
It was a more difficult process for the players, and we felt like we could simplify things this year by naming the 12 guys and then getting right into it in terms of focusing on what we have to do. Rather than guys worrying about making the team, they can focus on their job and becoming part of the group and really bonding as a team, well before the first game of the tournament.
Steph Curry was already on this show a little while ago saying he wants to play in 2024. Some of the guys that we're going to see in 2024 obviously aren't going to be on the team for this World Cup. How do you balance that, this idea that you sort of used to have to play in this tournament to earn your spot in the Olympics, but obviously with the amount of playing the time that guys do during the year, you can't expect that every year?
Yeah, and FIBA recently changed the World Cup to the year before the Olympics. It used to be every 2 years in between, and so you could get commitments from guys to play both. These days, that's not the case, not only for USA basketball, but for all the international teams. A lot of the big stars, they don't want to play 2 summers in a row. It's a huge commitment. It's understandable. So you see that around the world, and some of the teams we're playing against are going to be missing some great players. So it's an interesting dynamic that has changed FIBA. I think as it relates to us, we've got great young talent, and I couldn't be more excited about coaching these guys. I've talked to Coach K quite a bit about his experience when he had younger groups. And, I think our team's going to be so enthusiastic and so excited to be part of this that it's going to be a great experience. We just got to be ready. We got to go and defend and be ready to really be aggressive at both ends right away, because this tournament and these games happen pretty quickly.
You mentioned big stars on your roster and also young stars. The list of players that make a huge leap in the respective NBA seasons following playing for Team USA is a long one. So after 2019's World Cup, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Chris Middleton all averaged career highs the following NBA season. Who do you think will use their time during the World Cup to make a leap heading into next NBA season?
Yeah, it's a great question, Christina. I always felt like when I was in Phoenix as general manager, now as the Warriors coach, I want my young guys playing USA basketball. It's such a great experience. And there is a leap. I think there's a leap in confidence. Sometimes there's an elevation in terms of role. These guys, you're looking at our roster here, all starters, several all-stars, but almost everybody is really young and on the rise. And so you could pick almost anybody and say, hey, these guys, in the next year or two are going to be, at the very top of the list in terms of, best players in the league.
So you added Chris Paul to the team this offseason. Did you think about adding him to the World Cup team just to get a feel for how you're going to coach him? What's your relationship been him like?
Yeah, I will take Chris Paul on any team, including a pickup game that I'm trying to win, to stay on the floor, because I've competed against him too often, and I know how difficult he is to beat. But yeah, we're really excited to have Chris, and it'll be a fun season coming up.
How have your conversations been with him so far? Like, what have you gotten together yet? I know he's traveling. You're always in Hawaii for the first part of the summer. What have you gotten to talk to him about?
Well, we met in Vegas. I watched Steph and Chris work out together. We've talked about our team. One of the things I told Chris was we have to be more controlled this year. Last year, we were number 29 in the league in turnovers. In other words, second worst in the league. But we had the fastest pace in the league. That's not a great combination.
That's wild.
And one of the things I love about Chris is that he controls games. And so I told him we need his ability to control the game at key times for us. And he knows he's going to adapt to some of the stuff we do, especially when he's playing with Steph, throwing the ball ahead, playing with a little more pace. So I kind of like the idea of finding a better balance this year and being more under control, but still being, really lethal offensively. And then, of course, what Chris does in pick and roll and his mid-range game, he always gives you a chance in every possession to get a good shot. And he's one of the great point guards of all time. So we're lucky to have him.
Okay, so I'm glad you guys seemingly have a very good relationship now, because before you go, we have to ask you about this moment back in 2018 between you and CP3. Just take us through what you guys were joking about. I mean, obviously, he thought something was happening that you might not have known was happening. So what was going through your mind in this situation?
Well, I didn't know. I think we were joking about traveling, and but he was not joking. I was joking about traveling. He didn't want any part of it. One of the funny things about this league is that you compete against people, and especially if you see someone in the playoffs over and over again, like we did with Chris in Houston. And then all of a sudden you're teammates or you're coaching someone, and you laugh at moments like this where, you're at each other's throats for much of your career. Reminded me a little bit, when I played, Reggie Miller and I played against each other in college and then the pros as well. And I used to hate Reggie. Oh man, like he was, and then we became broadcast partners and he became a great friend. And so I feel like that's kind of how it's going to be with Chris. We've all hated him, because we were competing and he was so good, and now that's our guy and we love him.
Okay, I do want to take it quickly back to the FIBA World Cup and just ask you, because obviously Team USA is favored to win, but you have Canada, who has 10 NBA players on that roster. So who do you think is the biggest threat to Team USA?
Well, there's a number of teams. I mean, Germany's going to be really good this year.
Yep.
We just watched the highlights of Slovenia. I mean, just knowing it's a one and done situation. You got to go up against Luka.
Now joining NBA Today, ESPN Mavs reporter Tim MacMahon. All right, Tim, so we have seen the video of Luka running up the stairs, getting in shape. How is this offseason different for him?
Well, I think that, Luka looked at himself and said, what part did I have in the Mavericks' failure of last season? They didn't make the play-in despite him putting up the best numbers of his career. And the question with Luka coming into camp is always, what kind of shape is he in? And he's unique. He's a freak in the sense that he can be several pounds overweight and put up all-NBA type of numbers. But can he stay strong throughout the course of games, throughout the course of the season? Does he have to rest on the defensive end, or can he participate on that end? Can he play hard? He is putting himself in position by the work he's putting in this summer to do all those sorts of things. And we haven't seen Luka attack an offseason like this since right after his rookie year. There's been a couple of years where he did come in pretty heavy, and clearly he's determined to make sure that this is different and that he's putting himself in the best position to succeed and the Mavericks in the best position to win. Yeah,
it'll be certainly very interesting to see how that translates to him on the basketball court this NBA season. Okay, so the Mavs haven't missed the playoffs since his rookie season. Is he motivated at all by the Mavericks missing the playoffs this past season?
I don't think there's any question about that. Luka is a ruthless competitor. Let's be honest, this was an embarrassing season. They make a win-now trade to get Kyrie Irving. With those two guys on the floor, they go 5-11. And they're tanking the last couple of games of the season. That was embarrassing. So not only is Luka sitting on the couch for the whole playoffs, but I wonder how much he kind of took from watching one of his best friends in the league, his Balkan buddy Nikola Jokic, and the run that he went on, winning the Finals MVP to follow up the 2 MVP seasons that he had. If you remember, listen, Joker calls himself the fat boy when he came in the league. It wasn't until just about this age when Nikola Jokic really started taking the diet, the conditioning, those sorts of things seriously, and you see the impact that's had of just vaulting him into a completely different stratosphere. And like I said, I wonder how much Luka was sitting there watching that and saying, that's what I want. I've got to put in the work to make it happen.
All right, well, it'll certainly be interesting to see how he's able to translate all of that this upcoming NBA season. Tim MacMahon.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.